Boom, we are alive, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully the sound is smoother today. And I did take your advice. I removed the super chat things from out of the middle of the screen so we won't have those problems anymore. Boom. Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything is looking positive right now. And there's a reason for that. For those of you that were watching, Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve chair, just made some announcements, and they were very, let's say, bullish. One of the key topics was, yes, we're going to keep producing stimulus until the economy is back on track, and we will do that with all of the power that we have. So it's kind of a big deal, and we see an almost instantaneous turnaround for Bitcoin and many other assets on that news. Here we go, pretty much at the top of the hour. On that news of the stimulus checks that are going to be injected soon, a 5% increase for Bitcoin, right off the top of the trading range. Everything looks really great so far. We could do a little bit of a comparative analysis here really quickly, just to some of the volume and supply that came in. Again, earmark this supply note, this spread, this supply note, and this spread. We are actually seeing, again, potentially a higher positive nature from the current supply that's coming in. If we go in on the 1 hour as well, we get a little bit clearer of a vision of this recent supply check. Bam. Right above the center of the POC here too, at least on these smaller time frames. If we do go out, we do see that the middle of the support line was back at around 47,000. If you watch our videos, once we touched that, pretty much we kept going. I was expecting we might see a little bit of volatility on the 11th, and when we didn't get that, we've just continued to be more and more bullish. And the next important part here is, again, to remember the goal, which is acquire more alpha. For those of the Bear family that have been in the group for quite some time, and that are, or even those that are new to the channel, what I would like you to do is go look at Fetch. And then go look at all of our PDFs and our updates. So if you've been in the Bear family for quite some time, you will have recognized Fetch. We started taking our initial entries in Fetch way down here. And I think Fetch provides us a really clear example of the thesis for asymmetry and motion in venture capital. Here we have Fetch between March, the beginning of the pandemic, and November. Between March and the cycle high, you saw a 1,600% gain. I took most of my profits out at that point, and I lit a little bit of a bucket ride. But look at what would have happened had I just left my position in. Let's say you took $1,000 and made your initial entries back here when the Arcane Bear PDFs were being produced, and we were talking about this primary trading range and our excitement about this growth. We had this amazing growth come in. You would have then had to sit through an 80% retracement and rejection before the massive roll that came next. And look at this. Say you'd taken entries in March, you'd be up 3,800%. It's actually quite a bit higher than that, technically speaking. Let's draw this out here. From the beginning of the spring, it's almost 6,000%. So basically for every $1,000 you put in, you've got $50,000 on the table now. That means a $10,000 investment in Fetch between the months of March and May would have yielded around a $500,000 gain from a $10,000 investment. But look at the strength you would have to, and the rapport you would have to have in your play to see that your accumulation, your first SOS and your second LPS had a drawdown of almost 80%. Patience in this game is extremely important for this reason alone. In the meantime, Bitcoin was going wild, and everyone was like, oh my God, Bitcoin. So they would close their Fetch positions, put it into Bitcoin, because look how boring Fetch was. Oh my God, it's down at its bottom. It's never going to see a bull market again. Like, do. Well, guess what? Consistent entries, even here at this previous trading range in Fetch, yielded enormous results. So here, even if you entered in late November, something that, again, we've been watching Fetch for almost 2 years. Same with Matic. For every $1,000 you put in, you'd have $14,000 today, more or less. And it does not look like it's quite done yet either. This is extremely important because there's two main things a lot of people forget about. Number one, there's a much larger macro cycle taking place. And you can see that as we zoom out. Oh, well, lo and behold, if you go back and watch all of our previous videos about Fetch, there's this primary trading range we were talking about, the SOS and the backup phase. And look at the growth. It took me a bit because I hadn't looked at Fetch in a little while, but look at the growth we've had since then. This is absolutely astronomical. This is basically a stacked 8,800% return of what I left in there when we were buying in March. Again, I didn't put a lot in there, but had I left just that where it is, it would be worth over $200,000 today. It's not worth that much today, but I did take out most of my position here. I was like, yay, 18x, this is amazing. Like, I'm totally closing that out. But look what happened afterwards. And this is one of the very difficult and deceiving things about venture capital and market motion and asymmetry. You need to understand that the downside for you here was, let's say you put in your $10,000 was only your 10 grand or your $1,000, whatever you'd be willing to lose. The upside potential is enormous. And I think this is always the best way to look at it. So we've consistently seen huge growth. Matic was another one of our plays that from our initial entries, we're up 44 times. That is extraordinary. And this is really the power of venture capital that I like to share with everyone as well, because it's about momentum through time. But in this meantime, what we'll keep doing is studying. Now, Bitcoin looks like it's clearly starting to hold above its previous areas in the VPVR support, which is nice, right around 57,000. We've jumped through that resistance area, and we are now above the top of the trading range. I mean, I can actually drag this up here and say we could make a conjecture that we are not yet above the trading range. It's actually probably smart to do that to some degree. We may get a slight consolidation in here as well. Now, we're going to want to keep an eye on this. Could this turn into a distributional pattern? Could we see lower highs for Bitcoin? Yes, ultimately we could. This is always one of the other important things to think about in the market is you can go up or down. That's it. That's it. There's no other format. There's no like, oh, we went sideways in the market. Yes, we can go sideways. Everything moves through time. But more importantly, you're really only measuring, are we going down or are we going up? And how long do I have to sit in a position until it goes up or down based off where I am in my particular spot, my seating position right now, right? Because with Bitcoin, way back here in March, when we saw the primary spring take place, entries for Bitcoin yielded 1,400% results. Entries for Fetch yielded 7,000% results. Anyone who's a Bitcoin maximalist is purely delusional from an investor's standpoint. The venture capital sector here is absolutely fundamentally amazing, and it's an offering to people like myself who would have never had the opportunity to do that prior to this. So it's a really unique experience. I definitely think people should keep their eyes on the venture capital sector. So taking a look at Ethereum, it does look like we are starting to hit in the top part of our buying climax resistance, approximately here. I should probably change the colors of these for now, but just keep it a little, let's go like this, back to pink, and another one pink, because this is basically our support area. Boom. So here's our area of support. We touched back into it. We saw a nice inverse head and shoulders. We've jumped right up into the area of resistance. I still, for some reason, think we're going to get a bit of a drawdown. I feel that same way with about Bitcoin as well, just because we didn't get this. We didn't get it last time. We just went up, basically. The only time we came back down to test the top of the trading range was effectively after the new buying climax. No, excuse me. So that's kind of an awkward placement, right? Here, when we were charting, if you go back, watch our videos, we thought we'd go up, come back, touch the range, and then break out. Here we went way above and then touched the range back down into phase C. So I believe we're in the kind of final stepping stone patterns into an extraordinarily bullish market. And you can kind of see the ebb and flows of that by looking at things like Fetch, by recognizing, holy hell balls, there's an enormous amount of capital potential by being in these markets, even with small amounts of money. But it's about a patience game. Would you be willing to wait through a 1,700% upswing, 80% drawdown, and then 370 days later have a 63 times higher yield than you put in? I hope so, because that's what you need. So let's take a look at Balancer. We'll just kind of quickly go through some of our venture capital plays today. Sometimes I feel like I'm just shoving stuff into other stuff. Maybe that's like a primary response. Balancer had this nice head and shoulders at the bottom of its trading range, and we've seen this rising megaphone or Livermore pattern out the back of the trading range that I love so much. Here, though, we've seen a lot of volatility outside and then a re-entry into the box. Now, I could make conjecture here that we're actually witnessing something quite similar, which was an inverse head and shoulders on multiple accounts all the way across the board. If you look at KNC, we posted this in the private den just yesterday. Here is the breakout. We did actually make posts originally to acquire entries for KNC here. For all the private members, you can find that by going under private resources. But here was the second, I took secondary entries again the other day, an inverse head and shoulders through this box. Again, kind of a confusing reaccumulation pattern, but as soon as it broke out, we saw a lot of strength for KNC. Something actually very similar is happening in Kava as well, where you had this temporary inverse head and shoulders with a falling top with a nice quick breakout. But again, remembering that these are much larger patterns, we're actually witnessing a larger trading range here. Primarily, here are the entries that we took for Kava and Band in the early stages of the trading range. We've seen our first SOS, LPS, and the start of our second OS and our new LPS region. Again, I think that the fact that we're seeing all these new widening megaphone patterns come in, and the strength that we're seeing out of things like Fetch and Avalanche is really just the beginning of the face melting that we've talked about the last few months. And it comes really quickly, and it's over usually equally as fast. FTX is a new token I've added to our venture capital basket. I took my initial positions at $32. Again, for multiple reasons here. I really love FTX. Go sign up at arcanebear.com/FTX. I'm getting 30% on my staked USDT right now and my USDC stablecoins, which is fucking ridiculous. I put $5,000 in there just for fun, and it's earning like $5 a day from the $5,000. That means if you put $50,000 in there, you'd make $50 a day. Now, that's not an extraordinarily high amount, but if you put $500,000 in there, you're making $500 a day from passive income with very little risk at the moment. Now, we could go into a further conceptual breakdown of risk and analysis, but we'll leave that for another episode. Today, I just want to focus on where we are in the market potential. Had a nice spring here. And now we're seeing our first SOS and backup phase. I think FTT or the FTX token is going to become much more bullish than it is right now. I think we're going to see a pretty big blow off coming here soon. And then also just for that further conjecture of investment through time, because I was late to FTX. Look at how long it was down at $1, $2. You're up 1,300%. Since December, okay? We've been talking about how awesome FTX is for a while. I just didn't start buying its token until recently because it saves me so much money on the platform itself. So secondary moment. MTA came right back down to the bottom of this, again, what I believe is a rising megaphone pattern. We touched and we just started to turn around. I'm a little bit hesitant about acquiring more MTA and more Rook from KeeperDAO at the moment, mostly because I don't see the use case other than governance for the token. But the platforms themselves are very powerful, and that's a really great way to go. And by the way, ftx.us, maybe I'll have to get a link for you guys so they can, you can do that. So as well, because what they allow you to do is basically stake the FTT token, which yields 30% as well, or USDT, which they lend out to other traders. So traders who are going leverage are paying the funding rate, and you're getting paid from people that are borrowing the USDT. So if they get liquidated or if they take profits, you get paid on the interest funding rate, which approximates 30% per day, effectively. Again, remember, at $5,000, I'm getting around $5 per day, which is just ridiculous. And I guess the average like 10%, or sorry, that's not 10%. Jesus. What is that? 1% a day? $5,000? $5 a day? Yeah, 1% a day, effectively. So over the course of the year, you get around 30%. Very powerful play right there. Avalanche is looking very solid. As you guys can see, I've started to jump back and forth in between more of my area charts. I just really like how they clean things up. You know, I love the Heiken-Ashi for following trends. But lately, I've just been liking to simplify and go back to my old school ways. They've worked extraordinarily well for me up to date, and I don't need to try to shift, pivot, help, or edit anything. It does great. If it breaks, we'll fix it. But for now, it works perfectly. So let's leave it as it is. Here, you can kind of see the conjecture I've made. Again, this is a messy chart, but I wanted to highlight something. Again, the recognition of some of the older style pattern trading. Here's a falling wedge. Here's the breakup. Here's another falling wedge. And here's the start of the breakup. But this, as a matter of fact, is really just a horizontal trading range with our first SOS and our LPS taking, or first SOS and LPS taking place. And you can see that really signified by the volume structure that we see come in here as well. I am hyper bullish on Avalanche. I have continued to buy on a daily basis, small amounts like $500 to $1,000 a day. Not just, again, really what I'm trying to do is also re-average my price down, because I took a big position here at around 40 bucks. I think it was 44 exactly. But anyways, the point of this being, I was averaging down. So I've now averaged to around 32 bucks. I believe that trade is in profit as of right this second. Or pretty damn close, at least. Whether it's 32.30, I'd have to double check. Point of this being, though, I think we're about to witness another kind of launch pad moment for Avalanche. I think it's highly undervalued. I think when it goes up through its next swing, what we're going to witness is something very similar to what we're seeing with, let's use back to KNC as an example, that yes, there are these larger kind of dip out trading ranges, but ultimately at the bottom of that trading range was a very powerful entry for the kind of the next set. So I've rebalanced that secondary entry into what's basically already in the money. So if we go back to that again, I'll explain that here, right? Here's our distribution. I thought it was going to be a reaccumulation after decline. I thought we were going to stay in this box. You could still actually measure this as a reaccumulation after decline like this. And here's our reaccumulation box below the decline. But ultimately, again, I think what we did wrong, or not wrong, but what we were doing with KNC and Band is, okay, well, here's our reaccumulation after decline, the bottom part here, but are we actually witnessing a much larger trading range taking place? And I'm actually starting to think that that's the case because of how bullish the DeFi sector is. I'm starting to believe, especially after having now retrospectively looked back at what Fetch did during these decline moments. The first blowout for the top here, for Fetch was extraordinary. Again, our original entries of 1,500%. Then you had an 80% drawdown before you saw another 1,500% come out of that play. So really important to think about the macro perspective and the time that it takes to go through these market cycles, because if you're not willing to make even a $50 investment here is worth almost 10 grand for you, right? That's pretty ridiculous. Maybe even more. So keep that in mind. Small amounts of money in the venture capital sector can do extraordinarily well. I think I had gone over Band, but let's go back to Band just to make some side conjecture. It's almost identical to KNC. So guys, I'm not trying to chase like 200% gains here. This is what this is what I like. This is what I'm super amped about. This. Anyone is like, oh my God, we just had 300% gains. I don't give a fuck, dude. We got huge gains out of both Matic and Fetch. That's my game plan right there. That's always been the style of strategy that I try to share with you guys as well. Here's the accumulation. Here's the ride I'm looking for. We have products in our newsletter going back to our investments in Fetch since 2018, right? So that was a long play. I think our original entries, if you look back here, our original entries I made were back here. We took this run and then we got drawn down as well. I thought we were hitting basically a type of spring. I thought that this was an inverse head and shoulders. I got drawn back down. I was still holding on to Fetch and then added more to my position here. And then I closed most of it out. I hadn't yet formulated my initial strategy, which is just remove the initial capital, because we had seen 1,700%. I thought it was pure insanity, but apparently I was wrong. No, pure insanity is actually just being patient and showing that there are significantly higher potentials still right around the corner. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. I think retrospective frequencies, going over what we've already been very successful at, is hyper important. Because it gives us the variables that we need to make smarter decisions in the future. I'm really not interested in like 100 or 200% gain. Yeah, that's great, but venture capital should be thousands, 100x. That's amazing. 1,000x even. Are you kidding me? I'm really trying to play a lot of this in the long term. So now when I remove my initial, I just walk away. Maybe I remove even a little bit more than the initial. Although Avalanche I'm still currently leaning into. I don't think it's done. We've seen these monstrous returns where Avalanche within the first 2 months of us kind of going over, reiterating, saw 1,300% gains from the $3 to $4 area, which is absolutely fucking phenomenal, right? So keep that in mind. We've got a great track record so far. I think it's important to really focus on that that a $50 in a small area can actually end up being a huge portion of your portfolio, because that's how strong venture capital is. Anyway, guys, remember that the disease of the new investor is found in over-emotional trading and lack of education. So if you want to cure that, join our group by going to the links down below, because if you consider yourself adventurous and like trying new things, this is definitely up your alley, because there's no risk involved right now. If you're not happy, we'll give you a refund. I think we have over 850 people signed up to the private group right now, and out of that, only ever maybe 20 people have gotten a refund, and it's usually because they're like, I don't have enough, and good, shout on them. Take that extra capital and throw the other 20 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks into venture capital, because look how fucking powerful it is. Anyways, this is Tia with the Arcane Bear. I am going to do a video later today about the money that was stolen from the Arcane Bear via a hacker in Roll. We found a kind of a unique way to play around in that sentiment, so watch out for that vlog either tonight or tomorrow. I'm just trying to find the space to kind of write out all my feelings. It's a big deal. Losing a 60 grand is no fun. Nobody likes doing that. And specifically because I would have loved to have opened my Twitter one day, gone on Twitter and just been like, hey guys, we're giving away $1,000 every day for 60 days to people who have anything, literally fucking anything better than some jackass hacker. Anyways, go to the links down below. You can follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Definitely follow us on YouTube if you have not already. Please subscribe, hit that little notification bell, and make sure it says always, because we will be, as best we can, showing up to do our live daily videos. I'm going to leave it at that. How is FTX security? It's great. I think they're some of the top dogs. Again, if you look at people who are in their leaderboard, you have some of the world's biggest venture capital funds that are using FTX to manage their portfolio. So that's a pretty good standard of judgment for that. Prevalent Truth says, hey man, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate what you do here. I'm a small ball player, but your knowledge has helped me a lot. You're awesome. Oh, I'm great to hear that. Yeah, that's why we do these for free as well. We know not everyone's at managing bigger portfolios, so I try to provide as much free content as possible on a daily basis. Let's see, Airman says, how much is the Den membership? It is $750 for the year, or $90 per month. Yeah, it's not $1 million a month. And we've been talking about Fetch for 2 years. Like, do you understand how high the return of reward is for this? Anyways, do what you'd like to do. This is Tia with the Arcane Bear. Thank you guys all for joining us today. I will leave you with one more sentiment that I love and appreciate. You guys are important. This is a miracle we're all here. Think about how wild this is. We are living on a ball of ice and rock right now, and it's such a pleasure to be able to share these moments with you guys, and go over and learn all the time. I thank you guys for that so much. It means the world to me to be able to have this space to be able to play and share. So we will drop in later this evening, hopefully, for that updated video about the roll hack. Anyways, oh hey, check this out too. We can actually turn the tunes up. How you guys like that? Is that too loud? Is that too quiet? Maybe because you guys are here right now. Let me know. Right now when I'm talking, is it too quiet versus the music that's playing? Do you like the music that's playing? Is that a thing that we should do always? It's been playing like hyper quiet in the background. You might have not even been able to hear it, but how do you like it right now? Because I can't really tell. I tried to do a live stream earlier and I'm like, maybe it's quiet enough, but I can't talk and then hear myself without the music because I'm on the other side of the thing talking. So you guys let me know with where the music was at during the video, where it is at right this second. That'd be amazing. I would really appreciate that. It'd be super helpful for me. So I'm basically just going to wait online until you guys give me a bit of a heads up maybe on what do you think of the volume. I fixed the little chat box thing too so that it doesn't show up in the middle of the screen anymore. I know you guys are not a big fan of that. Can barely hear it. Okay. What if I go like that? What about that? How's the volume of the music next to my voice at this moment? I know, the sound is good. It's pretty cool with the music. Okay, cool. Well, maybe we will do that more often. No music in my opinion. Okay. Sounds good. We can still hear you well. So maybe because someone doesn't want to hear it, we'll just turn it down like a slight bit then, and we'll leave it at that. Maybe one more click up, Wendell says. Okay, well there we'll leave it at that. Hopefully we can keep it. Yeah, we want it subtle. I mean, +1 for background music. Good now. Good. Awesome. Solid, everyone says. Perfect. We'll leave it at that. That way every day we'll have a new song to go over in the background. Super quiet, so my voice is still powerful. Thank you guys. And we will see you on the next episode.